Morning, yeah. So let me actually start on that slide so you first of all see what we're doing. So this is a point of sale system for restaurants. As was said, this is what we do. We are iPad-based point of sale provider where you have like devices in restaurants where waiters come to your table, and if ever they have an iPhone when they take your order, it's probably us who equip them. So the basic idea of Orderbird when we were founded like 8 years ago, basically at the same time that Datadog was founded, is we want to provide gastronomers, individual gastronomers with good technology. We want to make them more successful. And let me tell you why this is important also to reflect on what's coming next in my talk. Gastronomers, individual gastronomers, are people who at some point in time in their life decide I want to open a restaurant because I love food. I'm a good chef. I want to cook something beautiful. I want to serve guests. I have that concept of a restaurant, and I want to just do that. What they don't want to do is they don't want to go into technology at all. Most of them don't understand technology. Yeah, it's like your grandma basically when it comes to computers. So this is the level of education that we're talking about. And they are definitely not the big chains. They're not the Starbucks or McDonald's in the world. And those big chains, they invest millions and millions every year into technology, making them more efficient, making them more successful financially in the end. And our sort of Robin Hood mission as Orderbird has always been to help the individual gastronomers en masse at scale so that they can compete against the chains. And let me talk about the scale for a second. As you can see, over the last 8 years, we have been very successful. So by now, we have 10,000 customers in Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and France, running at 16,000 devices, mainly iPads, some iPod Touches as waiter devices, some iPhones if they can afford it. So this is what we're talking about. So as we're sitting right now here, you can expect that 35,000 waiters in our market region are using our system actively. And I just learned in another talk that was given by our head of sales that we have been able to connect more point of sale devices than McDonald's and Starbucks have combined in point of sale devices in the world. So that is just to give you an understanding of the scale. And so you can easily imagine that it's very important for us to have our operations under control because our customers using point of sale devices, they are relying on us. Right? If our backend is down or if there are some internet issues, then our point of sale has some offline capabilities, but they are limited. You can, for instance, imagine that to produce like an electronic card payment, you need to be connected somehow to the internet, and you need to have the backend running. So we need to make sure it does. When I started with Orderbird about 2 years ago, and this is mainly my personal journey now, I found the situation to be confusing, at least for me. So we had a backend and infrastructure running, and we had already 8,000 customers 2 years ago. But I could not simply answer myself how are the things interconnected. Where is the data coming from? Where is it going to? Are we up? Are we running? Are we doing good? This was very difficult for me to grasp. So what I was happy to find is that at some point in time in our Orderbird history, someone has decided to get a Datadog license and a subscription, which was good for me because I could immediately start working my way from outside in to understand our own backend and infrastructure system. So what I basically just did was starting high-level metrics, collecting them over the integrations that came out of the box, like AWS integration, Cloudflare integration, just adding some charts on time frames to understand what basically is the behavior of my backend system, which I have. Led me to something like that very soon. So you all know that, it's a dashboard. The thing that we made very good experience with is really graphing those things in columns of time frames, like last hour, last day, last week. And once I've done that, I could immediately then see that, okay, we have a very nice distribution of traffic, of requests hitting our backend over the course of a day. We have a very nice distribution over the course of a week. 2 years ago, we still did not have zero downtime deployments of the backend. We still had we do a deployment and our backend would be down for 15 minutes, maybe half an hour. So that gave me some clue when to do those deployments. It was then 4 a.m. in the morning, was very painful. Now we have 0 downtime deployments. But still, that helped me understand basically how our system behaves and what kind of traffic is hitting me. Zooming out, also you can see last month, last year time frames. They immediately gave me some indication of trends. And that is just one of the about 10 or 12 dashboards that we've built from the start to basically understand what is going on. And I always call that or refer to that as the phase 1, educate ourselves about our system. Once we've done that, the next thing for us was to say, okay, now we see what's going on. Let's make sure that we have some judgment on. So what's good, what's bad, right? What kind of behavior do we want, and what kind of behavior do we want to be alarmed on? So that basically led us to introducing thresholds. In first of all our metrics dashboards, we introduced thresholds. Color background, I'm not sure if you can see them on the screen, but you have some like red, yellow and green areas sticking in your face, telling you when you look at the dashboard, it's cool, it's not cool. And sure, we basically directly could translate that into all the alarms, monitors that we set up, which in the end then led us to setting up a very good on-call duty and incident management and having all of those things. So that was the phase 2, which I consider to be, now we have it under control. Now we got it under control. Phase 3 was then basically, now that we know when we're doing good and when we're doing bad in our backend, when the response times are good enough or bad or whatever, the next thing was we want to have goals. We need to have an opinion about how good we need to be, how good our availability needs to be, how good our response times need to be. We need to have an opinion, and basically an opinion from the customer point of view. We started that process from basically 2 directions. So first of all, me as the CTO, with our CEO, with our sales head of, we were sitting together discussing what would be good uptimes, availabilities. Everyone had strong opinions about it. Nobody really had data. So using synthetics, which basically is the outside-in measurement of availability and response times, I could immediately bring data to the table, and then we could start having a very good educated discussion about what our goals should be. And from that point in time, I had my personal goals, annual goals, some uptime annual goal also, which basically was based on data that I had produced before that. So I like that part. It also put me into position to say what I would need as a tech organization to achieve that. So you can see that the way that Orderbird was doing goals is not very, very crazy. It's basically, I think, the way that most of the companies are doing goals. So you come from something like top mission, top level, which is our mission, like we make independent restaurants more successful, and then you boil it down to some kind of strategy. So what are you going to do in the next 3 to 5 years to fulfill that mission, which is for us, lots of things. So some investment areas like payments and data and connectivity, but also we need to be stable. We need to be rock solid. That was always a strategic decision for Orderbird to say stability first. We want to have features, but not when we have to sacrifice stability for it. And that culminated then into annual goals, which I found written for me. And then for a long time, we didn't have anything here. But me and my engineering teams, we were running in sprints, so we had sprint goals and we had our roadmaps and stuff, but we weren't having anything here. And by feeling the need as an organization to bridge the gap between an annual goal and what we're doing very operationally, and by the level of data that we were getting from many directions, but also now from Datadog, and by the level of me being data informed and bringing data to the table, we were pushing ourselves forward to introduce objectives and key results on a quarterly basis with very tight measurements and metrics and goals for those quarters in the end. So one of those examples would be that on a certain quarter, I want to have a 99.99% uptime on a certain service, which contributes to the overall stability goal, which then might, in the end, lead to some decisions that we have to make in the couple of sprints for the quarter. And that was definitely something that was, which I could see was supported by all the the data that I had at hand and all the data that I could bring into discussions with business, with sales, with product, that we made that step happen. So this is all working very well, and I think you will agree when something's working very well, the next thing that we all do is we try to automate it, because then we can get our hands free to make the next things, to attack the next things which are not working well, right? So, and automation basically is a twofold thing. The onefold thing, and I was very happy to see that SLO feature coming along at Dash in New York. I attended a workshop and I saw that there is now the ability in Datadog that you can basically set targets for your service levels, service level objectives. So this is the way that I would describe it. So I can basically tell Datadog, hey, I do not only want you to measure my uptime, I want to tell you what uptime I want, or what response time I want, or whatever, and then you tell me how good I'm doing on a 30-day, on a 90-day scope, and please also tell me how much I'm over or under achieving. You can see that basically here. Please ignore all the red numbers, because when I took that screenshot, it was still early beta, and also I was playing around a lot with it, but still you can, let's take the one green one, which is 99.99%, the cache book uptime last 30 days. So what you basically can see here that I set a goal for that kind of service, and I said I want to have it 99.99% uptime the last 30 days. And I actually did better, or the system did better. We were 1 minute and 19 seconds better in the uptime than expected. And that's a good discussion. The discussion is even better when you're like not that brilliant. Let's say you're 4 minutes to the month less good than you expected, and that's not cool and doesn't look good. And you have a discussion with your sales and support and your CEO maybe. And they say, you need to get better, Frank. And I can say, yeah, but it was only 4 minutes. So is it okay if I spend another €500,000 to get rid of those 4 minutes? No. So you see, this is basically a better discussion than just go to that 100%. So this was very helpful. Also, there's a level of automation built in. I can set up this kind of dashboard and bring it to an OKR meeting. And I don't have to do the math on synthetics. Another thing that I'm just started now also automating is terraforming all of Datadog. I don't have a slide on it, but if you want to talk about that, you can definitely also do that with me. So that already brings me to the conclusion. So what you can take away, I definitely did take away that, is that we as engineering teams, especially we as, let's say, SRE, DevOps engineering teams, we work with data all the time because we measure and we evaluate and we judge and we react on data. We definitely have the power to push organizations to become more data-driven. Yeah? So you might be surrounded by organizations where people make decisions and they don't use data very often. You can change that with good data, and you have that normally. And also, what I found personally very interesting while I was assembling that talk was to see that at my personal journey with Orderbird, getting things under control, improving them, optimizing them, automating them, I found that there was always something where data could support me, right? There was more to be done, but I could also always see that there is some tool, there is some support, which immediately brought me to the next level. So that's all from me, and now we will have Megan with us, talking more about SLOs.
Thanks, Frank.
Thank you.